Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of American Horror Story, New York City, episodes 3 and 4. This show continues to give us that double dose, and there's some progress I think we made with certain stories in this episode, and yet there's still a lot of, look at all these things that are in all these different directions. When are they all going to kind of like get into like a nice, neat little ball here?
Yeah, it feels like there's a couple different main stories that are going on here. There's everything that's going on with Whiteley. There's sort of everything that's going on with Big Daddy. And we've got some big theories on Big Daddy coming up. But before we get into any of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are here every week talking about American Horror Story. We also have White Lotus that's going to be coming up. So hit that subscribe button. Don't miss anything. And follow us over on Instagram at Matt and Jess TV.
Before we get going, do you want to see my impression of Big Daddy?
Okay. All right.
There we go. That's my impression of Big Daddy, everybody. Thank you. That's the hardest thing I've ever done. Let's just start talking all about Big Daddy, because there's a lot to get into here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what do we know about this character other than that he is a behemoth of a man? He shows up time and time again. In the review for the first 2 episodes, one of the things that we discussed is sort of this idea of, is Big Daddy really real? Like, I sort of suggested that maybe he is a spirit, a manifestation of some sort. And I think if you look at these 2 episodes in particular, there's a lot more evidence that this is not somebody who is walking, living, and breathing among everybody else.
No, the first 2 episodes, I was feeling more like maybe he's one of our main characters that we've met up with. I wasn't really sure he was around, but he wasn't really interacting with anyone. We know that he was a real person. Theo had taken a picture of him. It's hanging up in this bar. He was a real person. It's just, is he actually dead like Sam says? And that's what it feels like to me. No one's really interacting with him. Yeah, we've seen, in these episodes where Pat was having this confrontation with him where Big Daddy is swinging this mace, hitting this phone booth, not hitting him or really getting a type of interaction where we can actually have evidence that it happened. We saw Pat standing not that far from him and shooting at him, and he just disappeared. This huge guy just disappeared and nobody can see him. And they didn't even go, if this was really a thing that was happening, Pat could have gone back to that phone booth and be like, this guy was swinging this mace around that hit into the side of this phone booth. Even if that mace isn't there anymore, the damage would be there. And none of that's come about. So for me, it's starting to feel like Big Daddy was a victim, that he is dead. He was like a pretty major part of the scene. Something happened to him. I don't know if it's Whiteley happened to him or something else happened to him where he ended up dead. And because I don't think that it's a coincidence that people are like seeing him when they are in fear, that maybe he's sort of this manifestation of everybody's fear, that when they're in that state, they see Big Daddy.
I think that could really work as sort of he was the first victim. If he's sort of, like you said, he's somebody who died years ago pretty early on in the process. Maybe there's sort of this unconscious thought of, oh, maybe I don't want to end up like Big Daddy. Like, the thought that I had a lot entering this episode, and especially during it, especially after that conversation with Gino and Pat, where there is this sort of discussion about these secrets that Pat has had, these revelations that, okay, he's been with other guys and the leather mask and like this other part of himself. And then right after that, we get that, fight scene with Big Daddy where miraculously nobody is hearing this mace being swung around and that thing was heavy as heck. Is Big Daddy a symbol of shame? Is Big Daddy a symbol of, I'm not able to be sort of who I really am or who I want to be, and Big Daddy is basically confronting someone on that very idea, bringing these sort of, thoughts or unconscious feelings to the surface on some level where, I think all of us, in theory, people should be able to live their true selves and, celebrate that and relish that. But so much of the story is, of course, a product of the time and the prejudices and the preconceived notions that come a lot of that. The fears that, if I be my true self, will I be judged? In Pat's case, is something going to happen to my career? Like there's all of these sort of things that are mounting up. And maybe Big Daddy is just the physical, very big representation of that.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen that happen as well with other characters where maybe they are confronting something about themselves that they don't want to admit to themselves or they don't want to admit to other people. And then here shows up Big Daddy at that time as well.
Here's another big, very random theory out there. We cover Yellow Jackets here on the channel, by the way. We're very excited for season 2. Is Gino a secret relative of Van, given how many times this dude almost died within these first 4 episodes of this show?
And that is a super cop. Like, when I saw Gino, he got, down into the morgue with Whiteley, who put him in one of the morgue drawers and shut it and was basically like, I'm not going to kill you, but the cold is because, they're refrigerated. For those of you who don't know or are new to the channel, I'm Jess and I'm a former funeral director, so I have a lot of experience in the morgue. And that could happen. And when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, he's probably going to be found by somebody at the hospital because the morgue at a hospital is a pretty happening place. There's people die in the hospital, you're brought down to the morgue, and you're going in and out of there quite often. Funeral directors and people who are part of a transfer service will come and pick up people's bodies there to bring them to funeral homes. It's kind of a poppin' part of the hospital, unfortunately. So I figured some attendant was going to come down with somebody or, to help a funeral home, take somebody and hear Gino and get him out of there. I was like, he's obviously not going to die, right? Like, you can't take Gino from me. Oh my God. Okay. So, but then we have this whole scene where Pat sees Whiteley walking out of the staircase, and from the staircase, he's able to figure out he's gone down to this particular floor, down this particular hallway. Oh, it's the morgue. Everything happens there. So let's just go in there and boom, here's Gino. I was just like, wow, okay. He's a super copper. This is a stretch.
Okay.
There was other ways to make this happen.
Listen, Pat is a very flawed character. That has been a stat. Maybe he's sort of like Daredevil, where Daredevil's flaws he, unfortunately is not able to see, but his other senses are heightened. Maybe Pat is just not great at a lot of other aspects of his life, and so his investigative skills are compensating for that. But then again, Pat, if you're this good at investigating, couldn't you get some answers on some of this stuff and sooner, please?
Yeah, I mean, we had him do that part of the investigation to find Gino really easily. But then he needs to actually get a call from Whiteley to be like, I'm in the park. I'm just like, okay, come on.
Yeah, no. Pat, you all you people still have a good bit of work to do. And, you mentioned your love for Gino.
I love Gino.
Gino is great. Gino is the best character on this season right now. He is just, there's so much going on with him. And, poor Gino, he's basically having to threaten people to talk. And these are people, club owners, people who have a vested interest in this community and trying to find a way to keep everyone safe. And it is just a reminder of man, is everything and it had to be, I wasn't born at the time period that this show is set, but it's is everything so repressed that it's this is how far you have to go to even to just get a modicum of interest in your case?
Yeah, I mean, I was around during this time. I was a teenager during the time that all of this was happening. And I grew up in Toronto, which is a pretty diverse city. It's just, things were different at that time where even in the most diverse of cities where people were a little more open in Toronto. My neighbors were lesbian. They took care of me after school because my mom was working a bunch of jobs. And so I would go there and they would babysit me. So hello, Dee and Betty. Thank you for helping me when I was a kid. But I mean, people were a little more open in Toronto, but it was still the same problems that were happening back then to everyone in that community then. Still happening now. Like, things are a little better, but they're not where they need to be. So, I mean, the cops not listening back then, the cops not listening now. Like, it's a little bit better, but this is a long way to go.
And I think it's also a long way to go in this show when it comes to actually like getting the ball moving and making some significant progress. It's just like, this is just my opinion on it, but I don't think, and Ryan Murphy, everyone associated with American Horror Story, they've done their fair share of bleak endings. Yes. I don't think this is going to be a everybody dies or everybody ends up miserable sort of show. I want to believe that someone can find a way to immerse through this, but not without a lot of hardship.
I think here's where we're going to have some more hard talks here, because I think there's two major storylines that are going on here. And I think that's also part of the Big Daddy fear theory that's going on about there, that he kind of shows up when things are happening to people. So we have Whiteley. We saw him in the park taking somebody's head. We saw him in the elevator with the head and confronting two people who are like, hey, we just saw you do this thing and now it's happening to us. We know what's going on with Whiteley. The other story that's going on is that there is some sort of virus or something that is happening. And we all know what that virus actually was during that time. Yeah. But on the show, they're kind of in this weird confusion of like, what is it? What's happening? There's everything with the Fire Island and the deer. And now there's this cat thing going on and the fleas and, Hans and, he's died. And what has he died of? There's a lot of confusion of what this actually is. Even in the credits, we have like a couple of images of blood. So we know what this really is. But at that time, that was a thing that was just coming to the surface and hitting the community pretty hard. And people didn't know exactly what was going on. Doctors were still working through some of that stuff or still revealing what is going on. And I think that is a huge part of this story that they just haven't really put a name on yet, even though we all know what it is.
That I think it's really effective in an interesting way how they're kind of going about it, because to me, the message that I'm sort of getting from all this is it really doesn't matter so much right now what you call it. What really matters is that people are dying. There is all this chaos and panic and uncertainty going on, and yet people are turning a blind eye. And if this was to be happening in any community out there, you would want to believe that, the best and brightest are going to take their time, look into it, and come up with some real solutions. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, in this situation, they're really not. And I mean, historically, we know where it goes, and eventually it gets more attention. But like, how long does that take, as opposed to if there was action almost immediately? Where would the world have been? Like, where could have things have gone? And I think this season is meant to ask those sort of questions. And that's kind of the irony of American Horror Story in the title, where this is actually a legitimate American horror story that is going on, just with some metaphors maybe mixed in there.
Yes, that was a complete horror story that was going on during that time, plus decades later. There's still no cure. Like, this is a horror story.
Now, here is where one of the beefs kind of comes in with all of this, and that, I love Billie Lourd. I'm glad that she's on the show. She is very important to the franchise. It's nice that they have at least a couple of actors who have been there before, because we don't have Evan Peters. He's too busy being on a certain Netflix show. We don't have Sarah Paulson. But if you're going to bring Billie Lourd back, you got to do more with this Hannah character. Like, maybe it's coming. Maybe we're going to get something more with her down the road. It's just like, for right now, it feels a lot like, okay, we just needed somebody on this show who's been on a lot of other seasons. Yeah, we have Dennis O'Hare, but here is Hannah, and it's just sort of like, okay, what are we doing with her?
Yeah, not nearly enough. The writing for her just isn't there the way that it has been in the past. It's just they don't really know what they're doing with her. I understand wanting to have people back from past franchise from this franchise and past seasons. I
Yeah.
mean, it's always great to see people from other seasons back on the show, but you have to have more of a role for her, especially since this particular storyline of this virus that's going around and killing everybody, it this character needs more to do. And I hope that it's going to come. But I mean, we're 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
There's only 10 episodes. We're almost halfway through the show already.
That's the craziest thing to sort of think about here. It's hard to put that in perspective, but yeah, there's not that much time left. And, maybe this is something where we're just kind of getting a taste of a couple characters. We're down the road. We'll see a little bit more of them because Dennis O'Hare hasn't had that much to do yet either.
No, and it feels like they're actually still kind of fleshing out the Adam character a little more still, where, he's had a couple of conversations with Gino in these episodes where he wants to do more. He doesn't know what more to do. He is trying. Gino wrote out this sketch of Whiteley, and Adam is out there trying to get attention with it, talking to Theo about it. We saw everything that happened at the bar there where Whiteley was there, and then Big Daddy is there chaining people in there. But it's, again, I don't think that it's him throwing fire in there, everything that's going on. But Whiteley is there. So, I mean, it's all got to be kind of connected. But we did see a little bit more with Theo and how he's changing a little bit, where when we first met him, he was a little more sort of carefree. He's being taken care of by Sam financially, getting all these advantages with his photography and the money that Sam provides and the lifestyle that he provides. But he's starting to get something very real with Adam, and we actually saw him even leave Sam. And the confrontation with Sam and Adam, I thought there was going to be something more to it than get in the car. What's it going to take to make you leave? Nothing. Okay, get out of the car. I was just like, I didn't expect him to like kill him or threaten him or anything, but I think I expected even a dollar amount, like something.
Yeah, because Sam has already been established that he is not above doing some either shady or dangerous or just like really just like things. So yeah, get in my car, get out of my car. Wasn't really a lot.
Especially when he was talking to Theo and he was kind of like, you think that I'm killing people, that I'm capable of something like that? 100%. I think that you're capable of that. I mean, Big Daddy was a real person, and Sam so far is the only person who has been like, he's dead. So I don't know, like, how does he know that? And then Theo doesn't know that. I mean, Theo's the person who took pictures of him.
Yeah.
Why does Sam know this and nobody else knows this? And it's probably because Sam had something to do with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about what exactly happened to Big Daddy, and I'm sure I don't get the sense the show will ever fill in like all of the cracks, but I do hope maybe, I don't know, episode 8, episode 9, give us a little bit of backstory here. Like, this is a very good season so far. Like, it's not perfect. There's a couple of little flaws here or there, but it is better than the alien nonsense last season.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to remind people.
No, that double feature was a flop. I mean, the first part, Red Tide, was pretty good. That just needed to be the whole season. The alien and oh my god, what a flop. But no, it is a good season. I really enjoyed those first 2 episodes. These episodes, I was like, it's good. It's not as good as it was, but for me, part of what was drawing me in was the whodunit of it all. But they've revealed that it's Wiley, and that's what he's doing. And they've made it pretty clear that Big Daddy is not alive, and he is kind of a figment of people's imagination. So a little bit of the mystery feels like it's been taken out of the balloon, and I'm really into stuff like that where it's like, oh, who did it? Who could it be? Is it Sam? Is it Pat? Who is it? Who is it? But it's Whiteley.
Yeah. We know who it is, but we'll see. Hopefully there's some other good mysteries maybe set up here through the rest of the season. But hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of that. Thanks for watching with us. Check out our coverage of White Lotus this weekend. I'm sure that'll be fun, and we will see you here next time.